Yeah. Yeah. Always that hard. Okay, so just need to study. Are you using the traffic? I have. Oh, you are that? Yeah. It's so bad. Are you planning on taking? Maybe in 2 weeks or so. Okay, all right. Oh, in 2 weeks? So you're not in like the smooth timeline, you go over. I'm probably gonna start it today, sure. Yeah, I'm going. I went through like maybe. You better start today. Yeah. Maybe it's like 2 weeks, I'm gonna take like 5 days off. No, I think do it before. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just trying to gauge. Is date already determined? Or you Well, I haven't booked anything, right? Yeah, it's something just like show up at KTOA. Well, otherwise I'll just pick it up. I thought we have to make it up. Or at least that's what I did. Right. That's what I thought. I'm good making a point, right? I could say, hey, it's time, but yeah. So you just went to the Rolling Hills and I haven't done it yet, but I was asking you. Just talk to the guy, maybe I'll verify. Maybe Taylor can provide some insight on the readings.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you guys we should go over it, see where everyone's at. So who's done holds and arcs phase check? No one yet?
No one here.
Okay, so after holds and arcs is usually a good sign to start your written. If you want to start it now, by all means you totally can.
Okay.
But I like to have my students start and just focus on holds and arcs. Hi Zach. What you doing? Nothing. I'm not qualified. Yeah, I'm subbing for Neil this week. Yeah. So, and this is just how I do it, so there's no right answer. If you're on IFR, you could totally do the written whenever, in my opinion. Even if you're waiting for a private check ride, you could totally do your IFR written. However, what I like to do and what works best from my experience is sit there and do holds and arcs where you can study like the ground, like Kings, Pilots Cafe, and then your holds and arcs stuff like on the sim, and just focus on that because IFR is a little bit funky to try and learn at first. And then after you do holds and arcs, then you can start working on the written. I even have my students do some approaches stuff, and then I try and tell them you need the written done before your approaches phase check. That's kind of what I do. If they don't do it, then I have them do the phase check and I ground them until it's done for final. Right, Lydia? We're talking about the written, and Lydia's in that territory. Yeah. So yeah, my opinion, you have time. So just focus on your holds and arcs and the groundwork behind that, because that's your foundation. And it's kind of hard to do the written without a foundation of some instrument stuff, because they're going to be talking all these radials and hold entries and all this shit, and you're going to be like, whoa, even approach plates they're going to be talking about. So it's kind of good to be in the approaches stage when you're doing your written, because a lot of it is approaches stuff too. Definitely do shepherd it. It's Kaz, you went on it, or not Kaz, Wayne, you went on it. It's insane. Like, how many questions is it on there?
1,000 something.
Yeah, it's like 1,500 questions or something like that, and it's crazy, but you will soon realize it's like the best thing ever. Like I feel like I could shepherd anything. Like I could do the ATP shepherd right now, like easy, and get like a 98, so get used to it though, but it's a little bit overwhelming, but it's the worst one, but just power through it. Don't linger it on for like 2 months. Get it done in 2 weeks. Like probably no more than 3, and yeah. But definitely do shepherd and stuff like that. Questions on that?
And so when you say do it you recommend after your holds and arcs, so after your holds and arcs phase checks.
Yeah.
And that's just because more time-wise, or just because you're more familiar with the content?
Both. So time-wise is like you can just sit there and focus on like, how do I learn this stuff and how do I fly it? because that's like your foundation, right? You learn all about radials and
Yeah.
and like, you know, navigation with looking inside and stuff like that. And it's so rule heavy, right? So it's good to experience a lot of those rules and like what a craft clearance is and all that, and then go ahead and start studying it. That's my recommendation.
And the approach is content. You could kind of learn that without actually.
That's why I like doing it at the
Master.
same time because you're like kind of learning that approaches stuff at the
Right.
same time as you're studying it. Like you're gonna get a lot of approach plates on your written, and it's like you want to at least be done with holds and arcs and like be looking at these plates now for your like main focus. So it's a good spot to do it. Even middle of approaches or end of approaches, like kind of phase that you're in, is a great spot to do it. So, and it helps too. When you wait till after approaches, it hurts you more than it helps you. Now you're just trying, now you're grounded. If you're with me, now you're grounded and you're trying to get it done so you can do your final. Because approaches and final are like neck and neck. If you do written during approaches, do your approaches phase check, you can literally like study for like 3 days to a week and do your final. It's all the same shit after that, and then you're done, and then you're on the check ride wait list. So that's what I like to do. I did my IFR in a month and a half. So that's what I did to do that. Yeah, it was crazy, but also check ride, you know, you get lucky with check rides and stuff like that too. We're gonna do holds all day today. So this is if you haven't done hold stuff yet, or maybe you're still trying to get it down on the sim or whatever it is, you'll probably realize that holds are pretty confusing. This is because you don't have a foundation solidified for instrument flying. When you guys finish your holds and arcs phase check and you're on with your like final phase check, you would need like a 2 to 5 minute refresher on how to do every hold under the sun, and you'll know how to do it, and you'll be like, this shit's easy, you know? Um, but right now it's hard. Like you think flying these little racetrack circles would be easy, but it's actually very confusing. But once you get on the other side, you should on. So, um, does everyone have the Hold Trainer app? Everyone know what that is? Let me see if I can find a photo of it here. The same guy who made Pilots Cafe made this orange app here. This is the best $5 you'll ever spend. There's another one that's a little bit more complicated and a little bit, some people may find it a little bit better, but I like the simplicity yet learning from this. So this Amir Fleminger guy is the guy who made Pilots Cafe, and he made this. Spend the $4.99 now, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna study this to learn how to do holds. And then if you're a double I, I'm gonna say do this, but look how they're giving the hold. Right. So yeah, this $5 goes a long way. So I'd highly recommend getting this because it's not just for your instrument, it's also for your CFI. And that's really important. You don't want to be up there giving wrong holds to a student one day, you know, so use it for both. This is a really good app. There's another one. Let me see. There's another one that's been really good. That's all the same thing. I'll plug in my iPad and we'll maybe look at it. But there's another hold trainer app that's really good too. This is like a copy, not this one. There's one that actually, I think it's this. Yeah, it's this one. So there's one that actually has like an HSI and stuff on there, and like your plane's kind of in the open world. This one's really good too. Um, I think you have to buy it. I think it's free, but it's like if you want to do anything on it, you want to buy it. This one's good because it actually has you flying it. So your HSI will move like when you turn and stuff like that and all that. Um, I just think the hold trainer one's the best though. Simple, good, gets you all the way done. Okay. I'll try and be as good as Neil. But he's a teacher, so you know, I've done this round a couple of times. Okay, interrupt me at any point if you feel like it. I don't care. What we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about holds first. So we know these are the racetrack looking circle pattern. A hold is a way for ATC to park your plane in the sky if needed, right? So we know in an emergency situation in a car, we just pull over to the side of the road, right? If our engine quits, we just pull over to the side of the road or even stop and everything's all good. But in an emergency, we cannot pull to the side of the road, or if there's delays, we cannot just stop the car, right? We're in the air, so we have to do a hold. A hold can be issued by ATC for a number of reasons. It's important how you enter the hold. So a lot of IFR actually boils down to being predictable, and these three hold entries are the most predictable. These are actually recommendations. The thing is if you don't do these recommendations, they're going to be like, what are you doing? So there's three different hold type of entries, and we're going to discuss some terminology. So what we will be talking about a lot is the holding fix, and it may even just be called the fix. So I want you to go direct the fix. You're gonna hear this all the time. Make a right turn after you hit the fix. So this is where our hold's gonna revolve around, and we don't know if it's gonna be right turns like this, or we're gonna fly and do left turns. We'll have to hear the instruction. There's many types of fixes. So you can have a legit fix like a VOR, a waypoint, but then you can have imaginary fixes that we have to figure out in the plane, like an intersection, which is a nasty one, or DME. Right? So there's all different ways of making a fix, or you could already have a legit fix there. These will be identified by flag flips, we probably know. And same with the GPS waypoint, your little flag's going to flip on your HSI, but these are not going to give you any sort of indication. You're going to have to scan and know. So your instrument scan that you're getting down now gets wider and wider, right? Because what do these revolve around? They also revolve around time. So now you have to scan a timer. And now, in this case, look at this DME one. Now you're going to have to scan somewhere else for your DME. And then also this one, you're going to have to scan a whole nother HSI. You're going to have to flip to a new CDI and you're going to have to see another HSI there. So your scan is about to get huge with these. Has everyone done every type of hold so far? Most of you guys?
Taylor,
Mhm.
what would be the two VOR thing look like on an HSI?
So that would be one, we tune in on our green needles, right? And we'd go like 180 radial off of Seal Beach. And then the next one would be purple needles. So we can't view it at the same time, right? We only have one HSI.
Right.
So we'd have to flip it to purple needles, change it to like LAX 242 radial, and then like look at it and then get rid of it. And now we're gonna go to green needles again. Does that make sense?
Do you have to put in the second VOR is GPS and OBS mode?
Yes, exactly. So what you're gonna do is this one would be easy. We just put in like Seal Beach and go to the 180 radial on green needles. So on our nav frequency. This one is GPS. So we're gonna GPS the LAX VOR and then hit OBS, which we can look at on the 650.
Could you also just do this, the green needles and you can't like just simple frequencies? Or is it not as like?
You can. That would be really time inefficient though, because if I wanted both green needles for this, I would go and put Seal Beach and LAX in the active and standby frequencies, and then I'd literally have to like flip frequencies, then hit course, and then type in 242 just to look at it for a second to flip it back again, and then I'd have to type in 180. So it's like you'd have to type every time. This way, with the GPS way, it remembers what you want.
So just do LAX.
Yeah, so you just tap, the CDI button that flips it between GPS and green needles. You would just tap that and you'd just be flipping, and it's like already kind of set in there.
So it's not like a frequency for the GPS, you just put in there LAX airport.
No, so you would do the 3-letter identifier. So I'll show you what that is. Oh shit, I just went off my slides. The usual. So here's LAX airport. I wouldn't want to type that in. What I'd do is I'd go here. Here's the frequency, right? But I don't want the frequency. I just want the 3-letter identifier right here. So that's what I would be using. It's very important that you use the correct OBS for the correct thing. If you punched in LAX, you would not be on the correct radial. right? So you want to be sure you're using the 3-letter identifier here. Good morning. Let me go back to actually. On top of this, we have some more terminology. So that was our holding fix, or just we call it our fix. We also have our inbound leg, which is right here. This is the straight line to the fix. And this usually has to be a minute. So this is one of the most important legs. This is the one that you're trying to get to be 60 seconds, usually, or a certain DME. Our next one is our outbound leg. This one can be modified in time and in shape a little bit. So because of the wind, I could fly it like this way and then turn in. So it can be a minute. I can alter the shape and I can alter the time of this one. And why would I want to do that?
Wind correction?
Yes. So what's the goal of all that wind correction? What's the end goal of all that? And time correction. Let's say I change this by 10 degrees and I also add 10 seconds on the timer. Why am I doing all that?
Make the full like, or like 4 minutes.
You kind of just said it, you want that inbound leg.
Exactly.
On the radio in 1 minute.
Yes. So you guys are all right along the line. Is I'm going to modify this outbound leg so I can get this inbound leg to be 60 seconds. Why? Because it's predictable. IFR is all about being predictable. This ATC person is going to know that you're doing something over here to make this leg 1 minute inbound. That's so we have some kind of standard here where we're not just like, I'm not just going to fly out with no timer and just be like, oh, I think it's good now, and I'm just going to turn at any time. So this puts us and restricts us to a smaller area. One thing we always do too, every single hold ever, is our inbound leg is always going to be our course, right? So on my CDI, that may be purple or green, right? Because I'm going to use either my nav frequency, which would be green needles, or GPS, which would be purple. So it's always going to be purple or green. And then my outbound leg is always going to be my heading bug. So it's going to be blue or teal or whatever you call it. So every single hold, it's always going to be that way. The other thing too here is this all revolves around protected stuff here. So you'll learn later that protected stuff gets a little bit looser, but for now, I want you guys to think that this side of the fix is the safe side. This other side is the not safe side. Take that with a grain of salt, because in real life, they're actually both protected on both sides, right? And we're also protected altitude wise. They're never going to put someone within 1,000 feet of us for IFR. But they do not want you, if you accidentally turn the wrong way, you're risking a deviation. So that would be the biggest risk, not necessarily hitting someone or something. So this is your side here. So if they told you to make right turns, you're going to fly inbound and you're going to make a right turn to your outbound leg, which we'll talk about how to do that later. This would be our non-holding side. So that, you know, when I did IFR, they called it, this would be our protected side and this would be our non-protected side. But in reality, they're both protected, because that gives you the wrong vibe. That gives you like you're going to die if you go on this side. You're not going to die. It's just you're going to be really unpredictable and everyone's going to hate you for it. So we have our holding side and our non-holding side here. Our standard direction, you'd think would be left turns, because standard pattern is left turns, but we throw that out the window and now our standard's right, just to make shit harder. So standard for holds is going to be right turns. How do we know this standard is being said? Well, they may not say anything. So they will tell you left turns, but if they don't want you to turn left turns, they will not say anything. So hold south on the 180 radial, whatever, done on the LAX VOR. That means you're going to turn right. So that means I'm going to fly inbound. And when I fly inbound and I cross my fix, I'm going to make a right turn. And we know we just read, but our standard's 1 minute legs. Non-standard would be a couple of things here. So non-standard could be a left hold, or it could be something different. So our standard is right turns, 1 minute legs. But a non-standard could be left turns, and it could be a speed restriction. It could be a nautical mile sort of thing. So we're going to have to identify what that is. And if this is a DME distance, now I got to do some math, right, to figure out what's the deal here. We also have some maximum holding speeds. So based on your altitude, they're going to restrict you to a certain speed. What's the speed limit above 10,000 feet? Anybody remember?
Subsonic.
Yeah. And what's the speed limit below 10,000 feet?
250.
Yeah. So this kind of makes sense then, right? So down low, they have us doing a little bit tighter, smaller holds usually at a lower speed, and then it gets higher and higher as we go up. Once again, we're just standardizing stuff. This is all, everybody has Pilot's Cafe, right? It's not the holy grail, but it kind of is the holy grail to your IFR. It's very summarized, so like you're going to need a background study when you do it. But this could be your background study because this is on Pilot's Cafe and it doesn't look so nice. It's just listed on there, but it'll help you remember it. I'd highly recommend Pilot's Cafe and make a bunch of flashcards off of Pilot's Cafe. I'm like huge with flashcards. So there's our speed limits there. Everyone good with that slide? Okay, so hold instructions are going to be issued by ATC, and they're given in a standard format as followed. So you're going to get the cardinal direction from the fix. You're going to get your radial or course for the inbound or outbound leg, and then you're going to get your directions of the turn. And if there is these two last things, you're going to get the non-standard stuff like the leg length, or you're going to get an expect further clearance time. What is that? Anybody know what an EFC time is?
In case you lose calm.
Yeah, exactly. So two things. They're going to give this to you in case of an emergency. But the other thing is we don't have more clearance for you yet. I'm going to get you more clearance is what this means. So do these circles here because you're going to get a new mini craft clearance. So usually you get an EFC time if your craft clearance doesn't go to your destination, right? When we do a craft clearance, right? Everyone knows what a craft clearance is. When we do a craft clearance, usually it goes all the way to our destination, right? If I want to go to San Bernardino on IFR, 99.9% of the time I'm getting you're cleared to San Bernardino on departure, blah, blah, blah. The time when it would get messed up is they'd say you'd file for San Bernardino and then they'd say you're cleared to Seal Beach. Expect further clearance would be the last part of your route clearance. So expect further clearance at 1200 Zulu, something like that.
And what would cause something like that?
Delays somewhere else. So if they've got too much traffic over there, maybe the Ontario area, and there's like a big line of IFR traffic, and they can still get you out and have you go out there in a time frame, they'll get you up. If not, they won't even give you clearance yet. Like you won't get released. So we hold in the run up and we say awaiting IFR release in IFR, versus just say we're ready for takeoff and we just go up there. We may not even get released, but this is a good way to get you up there and get you ready because usually it's like maybe 10 minutes you hold there at most. Yeah.
When you get an expected further clearance time, do you leave at that time or do they have to clear you for that?
No. So if you lose your comms, you would leave at that time. So if my clearance was to Seal Beach, but my destination was San Bernardino, when it hits 1200 Zulu and I've lost my comms, I'm gonna go to what they expect me to do. So that's predictable of me to go to my destination, right? If I went to LAX, that'd be crazy, right? I filed to San Bernardino, they denied me and said, nope, you're only cleared to Seal Beach right now. So what is it expected of me to do? When this time hits and I lost my comms, I'm gonna go to San Bernardino. What they're gonna do here is you're gonna go in the hold and you may do a couple laps. And if you have comms, you're going to get further clearance. So now they're going to say a new kind of craft clearance. So they're going to say you're cleared to San Bernardino. When you depart the fix, I want you to go heading 250 or something like that. And they usually make it easier because they know you're in the air and it's like kind of hard to write and fly a hold and all that. So they usually give you like a nice, easier craft clearance up there.
Can somebody just turn off the radio? Just go straight to it.
If you want it to be quiet, yeah, squawk, turn it off. Probably have to file a report after though. So here's what our hold instructions look like. So this is the standard way of saying it, but they're adding, in this example, they're adding a little bit more on here, right? Because we know right turns and 1 minute legs are standard, right? So they would actually not even say this a lot of the time. But this is what it sounds like. So sling 866 Sierra Lima, hold west of the Ogden VOR on the 270 radial. Make right hand turns, 1 minute legs, and you can expect further clearance at 1800 Zulu. And if you want to chop this thing up without this, taking out the standard stuff, it'd sound like hold west of the Ogden VOR on the 270 radial, expect further clearance at 1800 Zulu. It'd be way more refined like that. Yeah.
If the ATC says what it said, say on the slide, do they expect me to say the right and 1 minute legs, or is it?
Yeah, read it back as they say, because right and left are two big differences, right? So if they do mention right, yeah, just read it. You could just read back that. Even though it's standard, I would just read it back. Same with the 1 minute leg thing, just whatever they tell you, I would read back this whole clearance if I got it. Yeah, they could ask you to do whatever. Obviously, they wouldn't really have you do like a 30-minute leg, but but yeah, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, they may speed restrict you at 100 knots versus 90 knots, something like that. Whatever they need to position you in an area where you're not a factor to someone else. They need to get you out of the way or have you wait for a second. I'll tell you, in the real world, a lot of the times this is casual. Like I was told one time to hold over the Morro Bay VOR, and that's all they told me. They're like, sling 866 Sierra Lima, I've got some traffic departing. I need you to hold over the Morro Bay VOR as published, is what they said. And there's 2 published holds. So I'm holding with the plate that I'm doing because that's my, approach that I already told them. And they're like, oh, that's the wrong hold, but whatever. And they're like, I don't care. I just need to do the hold there. And I'm like, what's the other hold? And they're like, I don't know. I just see 2, or I just see another one here. And I'm like, whoop-de-doo, So a lot of the times they just need you to sit there on a fix and get you out of the way. But we want to do it right. We don't want to get a deviation or anything like that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is this is how you kind of draw this. So it's really good to know how to do this so you know where you are in space and time with holds and arcs. Because when I did holds and arcs, I had an issue where I knew how to fly this shit, but I had no idea actually where I was. Like, I was just like, when that timer hits a minute, I'm making a right turn or making a left turn or whatever. But I actually had no idea sometimes like where I was. Like, it's common, and I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, it's common to lose track of where you are, right? You can't see out the window. Your GPS may be covered or non-existent, like you may not have your moving map, and you may just be looking at a heading bug in a radial, and you may just be like tripping out, like, I know 2 is through on a VOR, but I don't know which side of the VOR I'm even on. But when this flag flips, I'm going to make a right turn, So this will help kind of minimize that kind of lost feeling. But that lost feeling naturally goes away with practice and stuff like that. So if I got this hold fix and we want to draw this thing, what's the first thing we do? Well, let's draw the fix. There's our fix right there. So we're going to draw the fix, and then now we're going to do some other stuff. So hold west of the Ogden VOR on the 270 radial. So we kind of need to identify some stuff here. So west, so I'm going to put stuff over here on the west side, right? This would be the east side of the VOR because we want to try and draw it like north up would be the best idea. So north is this way, south is this way, and we've got west over here. So here's our working area over here. But now we need to identify 270 radial make right-hand turns. 270 radial. So is that my inbound or my outbound is the question of the day, right? That's always the hardest part. I always remember that radials radiate outbound. That's the goal. Radials radiate outbound. So what they just gave me was my outbound heading, which means I need my reciprocal. So these are things that I always try and find out ASAP. What's my inbound? What's my outbound? More importantly, what's my outbound? Because I'm going to hit this fix and I'm going to fly outbound for a minute so I can buy myself some more time to figure out my inbound if I need to. So they just gave me my outbound. So this drawing's a little bit confusing. And I'm going to kind of talk to you guys why it's drawn and said like this. So if they said, you know how this inbound would actually be in the plane, this would be 090, right? Everybody understand that? We would use to is through, right? We're using a VOR. So if I'm going to the VOR, I'm flying at it. I'm going to use the through radial on this side. Does that make sense? Why do they tell us this shit then? Well, because it's a legal nightmare if they told us the wrong side of the VOR. If they said use hold west on the Ogden VOR on the 270 radial outbound and 090 inbound, it's going to confuse people. Like, because 090 radial is technically over here. So we use it as pilots for navigation, but we do not actually fly on that radial because radials radiate outbound, right? So this 270 radial is radiating this way. So we need to legally say you need to do stuff on the 270 radial. You cannot really do stuff on this radial, but you can navigate by using 2 is through. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of confusion there a lot of the times. And when you get into approaches too, it gets a little bit confusing. I'll just show you a quick example. Everyone messes up this approach when they first start out, and it's because of the legal way they say it. So if you read this as a hold here, so if you read this, when we have to go miss out of Seal Beach, we're gonna make a climbing right turn 2600 via heading 145 and Seal Beach 058 radial to the Vortac and hold. But look, 058 radial goes that way. So you may make a mistake and you may turn the wrong way. When they say 058 to the VOR, that's your cue to use 2 is through. So if you were doing this hold, you would have to know that. And you can navigate with the through radial, but they cannot say that to you because that would legally could confuse you and put you over here. And they don't want you to sue them. That's the biggest thing. But yeah, so this would be now your outbound and then your inbound. So see how they don't even say like this is radial right here. So that's kind of a cue that that's your outbound. Does that make sense? Kind of the reasoning behind that. Okay, so we've got our hold here. We drew our fix. We've identified that 270 is our outbound. So what we did was we drew a line on this radial. We drew a line in because I know that I'm going to fly 270 on my heading out this way. If I remember the whole legal mumbo jumbo, at the end of the day, my inbound has to be on this thing. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we've identified that we're going to make a right-hand turn and we're going to go on our outbound heading of 270. So our heading should be 270. We're going to fly that out for a minute. We're going to make another right-hand turn and we're going to intercept the 270 radial. But in the plane to us as pilots, we're going to plug in 090 because we use 2 is through. We don't want to get reverse sensing. We don't want to type in the wrong radial and end up accidentally going this way. It'd be the worst thing ever, right? We want to hit the fix and fly it inbound on that radial, which we've all probably done. So what I do when I fly a hold is I want to figure out the outbound first. Did they give me my inbound or outbound? If so, what's my outbound? right? In this case, they gave me 270 radial. I'm like, oh, that's my outbound. I'm gonna bug my heading, right? Because I gotta determine the entry, which we'll talk about in a second. But when I draw a hold, it's the opposite. I go, what's my inbound? Because I need to draw the line that way towards the fix, and then I imagine myself making that turn. So hold on the 270 radial. I know that's my outbound heading, but I'm going to make a right turn. So inbound would be 090. So I'm going to go this way, which is 090, right? I'm going to the east. And when I hit the fix, which way am I turning? I'm going to turn right. That's how I remember that and not get like kind of lost with drawing them out.
So Taylor, maybe I'm going a little ahead, but do they ever give a instruction like go on the 090 heading or bearing? 'Cause I've seen that like on the trainer where it's
Yeah, so
opposite,
on the
so-
trainer they want to like get you good. They would always ATC would always actually give you radial. This would be your standard hold right here. Like they would just say radial, which means like that's your outbound heading, but you're inbound on this radial, like the reciprocal. You wouldn't ever get bearing or course or whatever that stuff that they say. That's just to kind of tease you and get you prepped for like identifying with terminology and stuff like that. So I think the standard for ATC is to say radial. Yeah, that's why when I like, I mean, Lydia is my student, but like I say radial for like everything because that's like how you would hear it in the real world. But the trainer is good because it gets you thinking on like, what's my inbound? When do I need to figure out a reciprocal and stuff like that? Yeah.
Uh, since you mentioned earlier that you were kind of confused finding where you at, you just, turn after whatever the timer says. Does it matter to, I mean, first of all, know like where you at from like the HSI view and how many times you did the hold?
You're saying like why do we even need to know where we are? Or
What in the real life, doesn't matter. Do they like require you to know those information?
which info are you talking about?
Like, because for example, my instructor, I was in the sim and I was pretty much doing the same thing. Okay, timer hit, making right time. I didn't even know how many times I made a hold.
Yeah.
And my instructor asked me, oh, how many times did you pass the flex? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So
What they're trying to do is, so no, actually, you don't need to necessarily know that. I would though, because if you think about it, let's say they told us to hold over Seal Beach, whatever radio, right? We have no idea, but it's been 30 minutes. We lost our comms. We have no fucking clue. We were like kind of zoned in on one thing and now we got lost in the sauce. And so it's like we don't want that. So what they're trying to do, your instructor, is they're trying to have you be able to like think outside of that whole, right? Because we get so focused inward that the actual goal of that hold is so you can sit there in a like a manner where you can look and do other things. So that's why. So yeah, I would say it's totally valid for you to not necessarily know how many holds you've done, but to know that it's been like a little while here because I don't want it too long, right?
right.
Because then I need to go and land because I could be burning my fuel and all that stuff. And I could be losing comms. So they just want you to get situationally aware because you lose situational awareness. When you sit in these holds and stuff like that, you're so locked in and focused on like trying to fly this thing that you have no idea that there's actual like even comms going on. Sometimes you'll miss comms and all that stuff too. Okay, so we know this little racetrack pattern thing, but there's 3 different ways that we enter this racetrack pattern thing. There's 3 ways that have been deemed predictable. So if you fly this thing and ATC sees you going the opposite way, they may be like, oh, this person's doing a parallel entry. They know what they're doing. They're not flying the opposite way on accident. They're doing an entry. And yes, these entries can be difficult at first because it's easy to see the shape of them on paper, but when you're actually flying, it's hard to put the picture together of what in the hell you're actually doing, which way and stuff like that. So This image looks like it's right out of Pilot's Cafe. So we've got our different types of entries. We're going to do a right hand hold for this example. So once again, this is the 270 radial, which means I'm flying inbound on the 090, and I'm going to make a right hand turn. We have some different entries here. So a teardrop is also called an offset. So instead of flying just straight up our outbound, and I hit the fix and I just fly to the heading bug, that would be a parallel, right? Instead of that, we're going to offset it because it's too annoying for us to do that when we can go like this. We can turn inbound like that. We're not going all the way like and flying our whole leg like this. I'm not going to wing it around and go like that, but nor am I going to go and turn the wrong direction like this, because this would be I fly, I make a slight left hand turn, and then I make another left hand turn this way. Whoops, so then I can start doing right hand turns. That's a parallel, but we don't want to do a parallel over here. We want to just do a teardrop and offset our outbound heading by, anybody know how many degrees?
Lars 30 like that, right?
Yeah, so that we would use Lars. I think we'll go deeper in this stuff too as well. Parallel, I like to say it's parallel, and it's called that because we fly parallel to our inbound. So I'm going to hit the fix and I'm going to turn to my outbound right here. Even though this is my inbound leg, I'm going to fly outbound and then make the opposite direction turn. So this is, they told me to hold right hand turns, but I'm going to hit the fix and look which way I'm turning. So I hit the fix and I make a left hand turn this way, and I'm flying parallel. I'm on my outbound heading, but I'm actually flying over my inbound leg. And then I make another left hand turn this way. And when I enter back on, when the flag flips, I now go back to right hand turns once we've entered the hole. These are all like, what's the most efficient way to get us turned around? This way, the most efficient way is actually we don't even need to be turned around. We're just going to hit the fix and we're going to turn, time, twist, and we'll fly to our outbound and begin our hold like that. So how are we going to enter this thing? Let's see. So before we jump into the steps associated with the hold entry type, we need to discuss the magic number. So if a pilot understands how to use the magic number, they will always perform a perfect hold entry. This is how you find what entry you're even doing. The magic number will always tell the pilot the type of hold entry appropriate for the situation. The magic number is always your outbound heading. So right, remember how I said when I fly holds, my first priority is what is my outbound, so I can put my hand up and do like the pie method or whatever you want to do. We'll go over that in a second. Because my outbound, if I identify that and fly that, I know my entry, and I know I get another minute to figure out my inbound. That's pretty easy to figure out your inbound after that. That's if I'm right up on the fix. This magical number, you must ask yourself, does the cardinal direction given in the hold clearance match the radial course in the hold clearance? If the answer is yes, so remember our example, hold west on the 270 radial, the cardinal direction west matches the radial or course given, right? So that would be yes. If the answer is yes, your magic number is stated in the clearance, which means that's my outbound. Does that make sense? If the answer is no, then they just gave us our inbound. So here's an example here. So hold west on the Ogden VOR on the 180, sorry, hold south of the Ogden VOR on the 180 radial. Where is south? Well, south is 180. So the cardinal direction and the radial match. What does that mean? Is that my inbound or my outbound?
That's my outbound.
Yes, they just gave me my outbound. So I bug that outbound and I go, what entry is this? Right away, as soon as I can. Because then I can figure out other shit later. Another one here, so hold south of the 8 DME fix from Ogden VOR on the 360 radial. So south and 360, does that match up? No, it does not. What's 360? Is that east? That's north. So south and north do not match up. So the answer is no. So I need to figure out the reciprocal. And the reciprocal to this is 180. And now that matches up. So 180 is my outbound. And then I quickly bug 180 and figure out my entry. Yeah.
Would they say that? Would they? Cause that's just confusing, no?
No.
Is that a wrong clearance?
Actually, no, they would actually say they would say this because it's a DME fix. Yeah, they wouldn't tell you yeah, this is a kind of weird terminology
It's a little
though.
confusing, but yeah, fix is north, then you hold south of it.
Yeah, this actually is
So you're north of the VOR, but you're south of the DME.
exactly. That's what they're trying to identify for you because they can't tell you the other way. They like because they want you to fly this thing a certain way. So yeah, they could tell you it this way. On a DME fix, this would be more common. You would never really see this mismatch if you're holding over a VOR. That'd just be like super messy. So we know how to figure out the magic number. What do we do with it? Well, we bug it, right? That magic number is our outbound. We need our outbound to determine our hold entry. That's our magic number. So we need to identify, did they give us our inbound, our outbound? That's our magic number. And once we find that magic number, which is our outbound, we bug it immediately on our heading bug. And then we check and see what this hold is. So I like to do like the pen method. So if I see right hand turns in my hold clearance, so if I don't hear anything or if they tell me right hand turns, I'm gonna take my pen and I'm gonna put it flat and then I'm gonna put the right side up. If they told me left hand turns, I'd take the left side of the pen and I'd put the left side of the pen up about 30 degrees like this. So that's there. 45 would be this tip. So I'd put it up 45 degrees, but in this case, I put my pen here. If they told me hold right, I'm gonna put it up 30 degrees there.
Is it 30 or 20 degrees?
Oh, I think technically it's 20 because that would be right because a teardrop is 70. So 90, 80, 70. So yeah, 20 degrees.
Teardrop 70 parallels 110 in the direction.
Yes. Yes. I think, and we go over that later too. So I'm gonna put this up over here. The thing is it's like so hard to be exact. So I just put the pen up. Honestly, I just put it up like this over here. And anything above that pen is gonna be a teardrop. Anything on this line area is now gonna be in question where we gotta do a bunch of math, and that's a big old pain, right? So the other method is the thumb method, which you may have heard of as well. So when I hear hold, make right turns or whatever, it's like, which thumb am I using? Well, they told me right turn, so I'm gonna use my right thumb. And what you do is you put it on this line. And obviously this HSI is huge, but when you put your thumb here on a normal size HSI, that's about 20 degrees. So anything above your thumb there is gonna be a teardrop. That's the real way to do the thumb method. I've heard other ways, but that's actually what you're supposed to do for that method. So that helps us identify. So in other words, we find our magic number and then we bug it. That's our magic number. We bugged it there. There's the bug on the heading bug there. And I do the pen method or I do the thumb method and I realize, shit, it's on the line. What entry is it? Let's just say it's a teardrop.
It's 70 degrees to one side, right? So
A teardrop is 70 degrees worth of.
why is it on the 6 on that one? Is that
Yeah, that's why I was a little confused.
This whole thing is off.
it's just so that's wrong.
Yeah, this needs to be over a little bit more.
Okay.
They just have like an overlay and just like drew it. I'm pretty sure there's a slide that has all the numbers and stuff here too. This one usually does on Pilot's Cafe. Let me see if there's.
I don't think there was any, at least the slings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, there we go.
Yeah, this is right out of Pilot's Cafe here. So yeah, this should be 70 degrees, should be 110, direct should be 180. They just have the line a little bit weird.
Is it in the 8 that says 70, 110?
Yeah,
Oh,
all this stuff's in the aim because
okay.
this is actually not regulation, so it wouldn't be in the FARs, right? FAR would make it a regulation.
Right.
This is just recommended. The Air Force says with enough bank angle, everything's a direct. So they just bank the shit out and pull it. So they also call this the offset entry because what you do is you just identify your outbound, and when it's in the teardrop area, they just go like that with the heading. It just puts it somewhere over there. Because it actually, if you think about it, it doesn't matter how far off I am with Lars, right? Once again, we're doing a recommendation on a recommendation. Lars, left add, right subtract is 30 degrees, but that's just because someone made it up and it sounds good. It's a recommendation for a recommended entry, right? So what the Air Force says, they identify the fix and then they just go like that a little bit, and wherever the heading bug ends up, they'll just fly the teardrop like this and they just hook it in. And it low key, like it makes it a lot less like thought process stuff. Like you just go like that with the heading bug and then just fly it. So
Imagine that's on ACS.
I know, just hit it over a little bit. Oh, this is stuff we already did here. Went to the wrong slide. Oh shit, did I just stop the screen share? Oops. This Zoom stuff's annoying. So that was right hand turns. Left hand turns, once again, we're raising up the left side with our thumb or pen, and then we identify. So look, we bugged our outbound heading. They told us 060 for our outbound. We identified that, and now we held the pen up. It's not in the teardrop. It's not in the direct side. It's in the parallel side. How do I know this side's parallel? Because I've done this 100 times in the Hold Trainer app, and I know the little one's teardrop. That means the bottom one is direct and the other one's parallel. There is, so turn, time, twist, throttle, talk. I think many of you have probably heard that before. This is the basis to a lot of instrument flying. I usually actually just take out the throttle and talk part because it just makes it more to deal with. I just say turn, time, twist. When you get into approaches, you're going to turn, time, twist. When you're in holds, like you guys right now, you're going to turn, time, twist, right? We know as pilots, you may have to add throttle and all that stuff. So turn, time, twist, throttle, talk. When I hit the fix, what am I going to do? I'm going to turn to whatever direction the entry requires. I'm going to start my timer and I'm going to twist my course because I was just direct the fix. Now I got to twist my course to something else. I just turn, time, twist it. This kind of and then you would tell ATC you've entered the hold. When you cross the fix and you're on your outbound, you can say we've entered the hold. And then in approaches, I would say turn, time, twist for holds and arcs. Approaches maybe turn, time, twist, descend, right? Because we now have hit the fix. I need to turn somewhere. I need to time it, and I may need to descend into the runway, start my descent down. So we turn to our magic number, which is our outbound. We start our timer. We then twist our course back to the appropriate course that they told us here. So south 180 radial, is that our inbound or our outbound?
That's outbound.
Right, that's our outbound. So we identify that's our outbound. We immediately bug it. Heading bug's going down here, which means where does our course need to go? Yeah, it needs to be 360, right? But I can't do that yet. I'm on my way to the fix. I need to use this direct because they told me proceed direct the fix, and then they gave me a hold instruction. So I need to do it later. So when the flag flips, which means I cross the fix. So when I cross the fix, I turn to my outbound. They said right hand turn, so we're going to turn to our outbound, and then we twist the course to the appropriate area because we're done using it. I always like to say too, everything in IFR should be being used, right? Is my heading bug doing nothing? Okay, well, let's see if I can make my heading bug do something by putting it on an outbound or thinking ahead in the future. Maybe I'm doing an approach and that heading bug needs to be for my missed approach procedure or something like that. We always want to have our stuff in IFR being used so we don't get behind the plane where we stop our sacred instrument scan, right? Second, we stop our scan, we probably know you guys have ever stopped your scan, shit goes bad pretty quick, right? So we want to have frequencies in the standby. We want to have stuff like turn, time, twist in the background of our minds so we can always be on course so we don't have to think that hard. So in this case, we are flying. It looks like this is about course 010. So if I hit direct on this thing, I'm flying this way. So when I hit this fix, we've determined that this is a direct entry, right? Because our heading bug is down here. When I hit this fix, I'm just going to make a right-hand turn and I'm going to turn, time, twist. And now I'm on my outbound and I twisted my course to my inbound. And when I hit a minute, I'm going to make another right-hand turn and I'm going to intercept my needle here. Intercept it, fly it in till the flag flips. Yeah.
I think you mentioned like ATC direct to, can ATC give you the which direction to entry or which entry they usually make?
No.
No.
I've never heard of anyone getting like making a direct entry because they said do a direct entry. I think it's implied like if it falls in this area, everybody knows you're gonna do a direct entry. They actually don't have time for that. They're just gonna tell you. So ATC has a bunch of little holds on their radar scope. Like they can push a button and it turns on all the holds over every fix in the area, and it will just show like a course with a number on it. And they'll just tell it to you as it is, as they've been trained. So like very, very rarely are they going to give you something unpublished where they're going to have to tell you the entry. So you will always find your own entry there. So parallel entry, I'm just going to skip these things. So turn, time, twist, throttle, talk. So once again, hold south of the Ogden VOR on the 180 radial. So we're currently flying to the fix this way on 210. Oh, this is even worse. This is all backwards and twisted, this shit. I wouldn't really be flying that way. I'm like just putting along, but let's just say we're going in the 210 direction, I guess. They told us hold south. Is that our inbound or outbound? Right, let's bug it. Boom, there it is. And they did not say a direction of turn, so that means standard is right turns. So I put the right side of my pen up and I immediately look, it's not a teardrop. South, why does this keep going next? I'm not even touching it. South is on this side, so we're gonna go here, and that is our parallel entry area because it's on the bigger side, right? What do? They told us right hand turns, and I know a parallel entry. We do 2 opposite turns to start things off. So I'm gonna turn to the left for my first thing. So I cross the fix and the flag flips. I'm gonna turn to the left to my outbound. I'm gonna start my timer. I'm gonna twist my course appropriately. Turn, time, twist, and we're gonna go and fly this outbound. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make another left-hand turn. So I'm coming from this direction over here. I'm gonna hit the fix and I'm gonna fly left turn this way. And then what I'm gonna do after like a minute, I like to do a minute 30 for parallel. And then after that, I'm gonna now turn. This is left, right? I'm turning to the left one last time to intercept this. And then I'm gonna make my right turns.
So you're saying a minute and a half. I've heard both. I've heard teardrop. They say it's a minute and a half when you after the fix.
So yeah, teardrop, I always say a minute and a half. Parallel, I always say a minute and a half. I've told people that I need to stop saying a minute and a half for teardrop and just do a minute. And I'm like, all right. we're all doing recommendations for a recommendation. So it's like, I think a minute and a half here, because the last thing you ever want to do is hit your inbound right here the second the flag flips. Because then, like, the second you turn in and now you're coming here and it flips, you're now lost in space, right? Because you're like, fuck, I never actually intercepted my inbound and I just saw this flag flip. So I guess I'm just gonna hook it to the right now and call it a day, right? We don't ever want to do that. We always want to give ourselves enough time to hit the inbound and fly that for even a couple of seconds, because or else we lose where we are. We never want to lose where we are. If I'm flying like this and I just do a turn and the wind's weird and all of a sudden now I just see the flag flip and I never intercepted anything, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, what just happened, you know? And then now I'm gonna turn out this way, I'm gonna be super far away and stuff like that. So that's why I like a minute 30 for a parallel. And I guess a teardrop we want to do a minute is more standard. There's no wrong answer for both though. You could do a minute for each one though. Yeah,
Could you actually go to the previous one?
sure.
So minute and a half, once it hit that, do you just keep turning until you meet the inbound?
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
question. Yeah, so I turn to make what I call a good intercept angle. When we intercept courses, a 45-degree intercept angle is pretty good. So if I'm flying and my CDI is deflected, I'm gonna turn my plane to be a 45 entry so I can get on that course like that.
Okay.
I don't want to turn 90 like this, once again, because that's not predictable either. And that's a huge turn I'm gonna have to make to go back inbound, right? So when I fly outbound like this and I make my parallel, I don't want to do this because then I'm gonna hit the fix on accident. I want to make a nice 45-degree entry.
So would you make a standard left turn and then 45 more after the standard turn to intercept?
Yeah, I wouldn't even like I wouldn't even think of it like that hard. Like let me pop up like an HSI here. So uh let's just do this. So let's just say I flew outbound and now I'm turning back to intercept my inbound. I'd turn even further than this. I'd kind of just turn like that and then intercept it and then fly it. I wouldn't want to go like this and just lightly intercept it because then I may hit the fix
Right.
before I actually even hit the inbound. And I don't want to go too steep like this because then what happens is this is gonna center, I'm gonna overblow it, and now I'm all over the place. Now I'm doing this, right? And we don't want to do that either. We want to just do a nice intercept to where we can just turn in and hit the fix. Let's take a break really quick. It's 8. We'll come back at like 8:10, 8:11, something like that. And we'll do another one here. So do a teardrop. Use the rest. No.
No, you can. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm just hard. I guess I'm hard. The. It was not see, yeah, it's this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, feel pretty good. It's like. I was gonna need it. No. Right. You're on the clock. I'm hopeful much. I'm different. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think it's pretty cool. You got right. Is right, property name. 3,000 years so far. You about 119. So I'm from the area of 31 and 12. I'm one percent in stability. You got it. What standard is taking from race? And I think being pretty words. I just want to. And then however, no part of your wording is totally follows because. How we do? I think we do. So then the following, it's public. Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's below.
If it's below that, then we have to define, yeah, so what happens if it's 200 foot ceilings? Two section max visibility, are we able to take off? I mean,
Yes, but we just have to make this concrete.
you have a definition for that? To calculate climate gradient?
Oh, like the feet ground come off, yeah. It's like, ground speed on by 16 times feet ground come.
Yeah.
And how would you use like would you go into the PRH department that? How would you do that?
You go see it's a climb table.
This side. Do this drive. Yeah. That's very good.
So then we're at sea level, we could apply it in the deep rock. So then we're basically at sea level. We could easily make static climate rate.
So you don't have to do the equation, you can just look at this or so look at it.
Well, you have to do the equation to get the how much feet per knock in mind is fine, but then how much feet per.
So if
no,
it's
feet per
like,
minute, you do the equation to get feet per minute, you do the climb.
so here, let's look at this, and yeah, alright, 325, okay, I'm gonna go. Let's say ground speed 72. I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna go like, okay, we got 72 divided by 60 equal 1.2 times 3.5. Big number.
They're not.
So it's 290.
You climb at 390 feet per minute, you're at sea level, you climb at 800 feet per minute. So we use the reverse story your reverse, that was cool, okay. If you know how to do that already, okay, well, my earth is back.
Yeah, just with time of 2000. So yeah, 0.
And then.
But for part one, we don't take up in
No, we act as if we do, like we act as if we are the ones for. So what's the takeoff minimums for 121 and 135?
I just know, like, you mean in terms of visibility and stuff?
Yeah.
I'm actually not sure. I just know that like for IFR or like 1 to 2 planes, 1, 2 engines, it's like 1 mile. That's visibility.
If you have more than two.
More than 2, it's 1.5 miles. Is that it, or is there anything else? That's 60%, I guess.
And then what's standard takeoff minimums?
You gotta 50 feet off the portion of the runway, north to 400 feet, and then 30 feet back.
Yeah, be good shown. Be great.
So yeah, I think I'll be good.
Yeah, 60 knot, we should say this one since they said it's.
Yeah, that's 6 hits, right? It's going to 6 approaches, holding procedures, intercepting, tracking. You said out of chart navigation. So now it's switching. Yeah. And I think it's the choose the opposite. Yes, that's all I heard.
Which, and then you use to the like the level standing, so if you use the stem or your requirements.
There is some amount of time to put towards that. Like you're assuming that time, like just a minimum hours.
You can use that ATD and then not the babies.
Yeah, because if you flew this, and you would have to flies, but not this one. Yeah, that's gonna be FAA, like approved.
And then you just have to be solely reference instruments.
And you did that.
Dollar insurance.
Okay.
You always perception.
Are you punching it? Are you be around here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are your questions, do you have a relevant here, or if you could hide it? But.
I've seen things like
You like Twitter?
yeah. When it's on followers, I don't know.
You know, I was-
Maybe this is so.
Oh, sorry, I was.
Who's your face check?
Not the latest.
Oh, yeah. He's check. Will be fine.
I just hope you get a fly to right?
Oh, yeah.
There's,
We're not just doing that.
that looks pretty crap worse. Worst case, if I just hit the ground, I'll just hit the ground,
Yeah.
I'll be like the flight, like once it.
Yeah, don't stress too much about it. It's pretty easy.
I think the whole of chilling, or,
Yeah.
or, if you're gonna get partial.
Partial kind of hard to beat up. I've done my own this because I done on my heart.
It gave you partial penalty mark though.
I don't remember if it was partial kind wrong. I just went and grabbed the second place.
What am I living out?
Oh, did you pass your check card?
No.
Oh, I'm not doing good.
Yes, you did.
No, PPM.
I agree with this.
Yeah, on the weather part, you did everything well, but I didn't like it. High pressure, low pressure. I was stuttering. And then,
pressure
yeah, so like, oh, when do you wanna, he's just, oh, he was like, he showed me the H and the L, and then I was like, oh, that's and I start stuttering, bro. And then.
Oh,
it's,
I
you
wanna know something.
Pressure or something.
I don't think, yeah. He was probably.
Not altitude, it was.
It's a fine.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, pressure is
Yeah, that weather. It's gonna be updraft.
Oh, so is that like,
It's updraft and then.
I'm just wondering, what's the point, like, the point?
And then high pressure is down.
Okay.
And it's,
Yeah, that's.
I was studying,
Oh, okay.
and you looked at me, and I'm gonna go get a glass of water. I walked out, and then, oh, it's like, and we put the. And then. And then, once we finished, bro, I'm like, oh, I didn't like the way you explained it, whether. It's all good. Like, it was like, alright, what?
Who's which?
He
was like, yeah. You think, you have to like,
Yeah, just keep it.
Cause. I dropped them off around. 1 AM. No, I had to be there. No, it was like 1:30. Yeah, but I got back at 1:40, honestly, not two. Yeah, and he even said he walked with like a minute before the alarm. Right. Okay, yeah, and I put it 6:30. Told me about so, not sure, yeah. Okay, so they are able to walk. Yeah, that's where, yeah, it is. That's like, you know, take through that, yeah, okay. Yeah, but. I'm good. I think if like maybe it's also like the one that I don't taste alcohol. I think in theory, I'm able to press out. But farmer is different. Doesn't make sense. So against my book. Yeah, but those. You have a portrait? Yeah, oh, when did you, how many times did you do sentence before you actually? Actually. 6. We can have 6 sessions of sentence, yes. Did you feel like there was a same session before you go into the topic, or you feel like you were so get it right, like half. Oh, when you're in the topic. Or maybe even in 6. Okay. So is it a better idea to? And going, well, I started doing it perfectly. So that's why I just been twice then. Oh, okay. You're messing with that. Yeah, messing it up during flights. Right. You'll see it.
All right, teardrop is, we're gonna do 30 degrees offset, but which way do we do offset? Well, it depends on the whole direction. So if I'm told, this will be better here. Oh, no HSI for this one, I guess, but there's for all the other ones. So if I was told sling 736 Tango Bravo, hold to the southwest. So here's southwest of the Seal Beach VOR on the 240 radial. That's here. We need to identify, is that our inbound or our outbound? Well, they said southwest. And 240 is in that southwest, so they gave us our outbound, right? So that's our outbound. I bug it, and it's right turns because they didn't say anything else. And look, I do my pen method here, and I put my heading bug here, and I determine that's a teardrop entry, and the teardrop is a right turn teardrop. So we need to use the phrase LARS, left add, right subtract. So we take 240 and we're gonna LARS it by 30 degrees. So right subtract, we're gonna subtract it 30 degrees. Got it? And it's okay if I like to do this on holds and arcs, but don't freak out if someone gives you a teardrop right here and your outbound's here, and now your heading bug moves it this way where you're making a slight left-hand turn. So okay, just offset it, just do what it says and follow the rules and do LARS. Don't freak out if it's this way or this way, just get it done. Just put your heading bug on the outbound, LARS it over, and fly where that heading bug is. Don't worry about anything else yet.
To just to walk through the entry real quick. So say we're coming in from the green right 2 inches. So we determine it's a teardrop. Alright, cool. So we put our heading on outbound, which you got right there. So once we cross the VOR, we get the flag flip, we can turn to that outbound.
Yeah.
For about a minute.
Yes.
Right, and then we can go ahead and twist our course back to the reciprocal, correct?
Yes.
And then we can go ahead, once we hit that minute timer, we'll do like a right standard rate.
Yep.
For the course.
Yep.
And then once we get on the course or cross radio, is it like cross or wings level? Is that when you cross radio, but you restart timing?
I like wings level.
Sorry,
Timer, yeah.
And then once we cross it again, make the flag flip, then we're gonna make the right.
Yeah, then we're back to normal. The unique thing about a teardrop though is you turned your heading bug over here when it needs to be here. So we're gonna turn time twist, but then we also have to, when we're done with this heading bug, we have to turn time twist again and twist our heading bug back to 240 because that's where our hold is going to be. I really wish they had a thing for it here, but they decided not to do it for this last one. Yeah.
So for talk, you said on the slide says advise ATC that you have entered.
Yeah.
Is it mandatory? If it is, what would it sounds like?
I've never advised them I've entered the hold. You're already in like radar contact, so they kind of already know. But what it would be is you cross the fix and you turn to your outbound and you time and you twist and then you say sling 866 Sierra Lima has entered the hold at whatever time, like Zulu time. That's like the actual official way. I've never done that in my life. But they said 866 Sierra Lima has entered the hold at 1517 Zulu. That's like the real way to say it.
So when you do holds, you never contact ATC?
I personally, I've never, no. They just say I need you to hold over this fix and then you just start doing
And
your
then you just-
circles and you're just chilling, you're just waiting for instruction. Yeah. But you're supposed to tell them. So what I do and what you're actually supposed to do are two separate things.
So you're supposed to tell them, that would
Yes.
be once you cross the fix, after your entry.
Yes.
once you cross
So
the
do it
fix.
in that order, right? So I'm gonna hit my fix, I'm gonna turn, I'm gonna start my timer, I'm gonna twist my course back around, turn time twist, add my throttle as I need to, and then tell them 866 Sierra Lima has entered the hold. You don't even, if you don't even say the Zulu, it's okay, just say we've entered the hold.
My instructor told me when we do it, if we're on the hold, and then you go outbound and you tell them Sierra 66,
Yeah.
we're on the outbound, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And then we turn into the inbound and or like
Any way's good. They just need to know
Yeah.
you're on the hold. Where you can just say we're established in the hold. So
One other question, when you go, say in a teardrop, right,
yeah.
you're coming in from wherever, you cross the fix, start your teardrop entry. do you bug the Lars 30
Yes.
heading?
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
And then once you're out there for a minute,
Yes, when I'm
Then
done with
you-
that heading
then
bug and I turn back into my inbound, I then turn time twist and now I'm twisting that heading bug back to the original spot
Okay.
before all the Lars stuff.
so that's practice, right? Don't-
Yes.
Don't just.
Don't ever-
Head your
Yes.
outbound and then say, okay, in my mind, I'm tracking. 30
Yes.
degrees.
Don't. Yeah, I would say in IFR, never be on something open is what I call it. Don't ever just say you're gonna turn to 240 and not bug 240. We should always be bugged and we should always be following something. In IFR, I'm always following either a course or I'm following my heading bug. I'm never just aimlessly flying. Same with the descent. I never do what's called an open descent, is what they call it for an Airbus, is you never do an open descent where I'm at 4,500 and they say descend and maintain 2,000 and I never reach for the vertical speed first and start my descent. I always close my descent. So I'm going to move my altitude bug down to 2,000 and then I descend. Because what that's called is an open descent means you're going to descend until you hit the ground if you don't bug it. So you really need to close things off. So an open heading is not appropriate because think about how easy you can drift off that. Was it 210 or 120? You know, it's like you just start, oh shit, start losing your mind. So we want to keep our sanity through IFR. And you keep your sanity by always bugging your stuff and always being ahead of the plane by putting stuff in standby. And you ask the question to yourself, what am I doing right now? And what am I doing next? Not next 10 steps. Just I'm right now, I'm direct the fix. And when I go there, I'm going to do a teardrop entry, which is going to be a left turn to my heading bug. That's it. Don't think any further than that, because then you'll have a minute to say, what am I doing right now? Well, now I'm on the outbound. And I'm going to make a right turn to intercept my inbound at a 45-degree angle. Done. Right? You always have enough time to think. And if you don't, then you're running yourself into a problem. Yeah.
For non-standard leg, let's say if they give you like distance,
Mhm.
5 mile,
Mhm.
like 5 cents, do you calculate with the ground speed? How do you know that you're?
You would use your DME. So
But we don't have a DME.
your GPS in lieu of DME is legal DME.
EOS.
Yeah, your GPS.
So, but you can calculate how many distance.
Yeah, I'll show you on the board. If I was told this is and that's like the confusing part. Where's the eraser here?
The rag.
Oh, thank
Are
you.
the hold speeds, are they ground speed or true air speed?
True airspeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say here's my VOR, right?
Yeah.
If I was told to hold over here at 10 DME, so I'm all the way out here now, and I'm using this VOR, and let's just say this is my inbound here. And this is our hold. We're doing left. But there's a catch to this, right? Is what we're gonna do here is we're gonna see how it's elongated. I need to hold 2 nautical miles. When am I flying my outbound? When do I make my turn if this fixes 10 DME off of this VR?
Well,
Yeah, that's it. That's how we determine it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my fix, fly the appropriate entry. In this case, right? Look at that. It's pointing to being a teardrop entry. So I'm going to hit the fix, fly this teardrop, swing it in. And when I am flying outbound, my fix is 10 DME, right? When I hit 12 DME, I'm going to make my turn.
but then you just fly 1 minute and then see where when it hits you and then.
No, so that's different. So we're gonna make this 2 nautical miles. So usually you would fly outbound to 12 DME and then make your turn.
But it's
Because we're no longer using time. We're non-standard now. So now we have to follow this non-standard direction.
if you're looking at the GPS, wouldn't that tell you the hypotenuse distance?
Yes. So it's gonna be 0.0, it's gonna be 0.03 off. It's
Okay, so
it's not,
negligible.
yeah, it's negligible.
Oh, okay, okay.
This is why we can legally use GPS in lieu of DME is what it's called, because it's such a minute difference that it doesn't matter unless if we're talking like 100 miles out.
Right.
So
Okay.
they would never give you a hold that's on the 100 DME, you know?
Right.
That would be a little bit crazy. But yeah, that hypotenuse thing is like at 10 DME, it'd be like 0.02 off. So it'd be like 10.02. And no one can even tell or care about that. So that's why we can use GPS in lieu of. You guys have heard of that, right? GPS in lieu of DME.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. That's it for this stuff here. So I'm gonna pop up the hold trainer and we can go through a couple of these here.
Can I ask a question? Maybe I'm going a little advanced, but they say to hold over an intersection,
Yes.
right? And then, so we talk about, right, you're basically toggling between two BORs, two CDIs, right? Two. So are you constantly doing that?
Yes. Yeah, you're constantly changing CDIs because we don't have the luxury of two HSIs, right?
Yeah.
So I gotta now keep flipping this thing in one HSI.
So basically, you pass the fix, you do your, say, right turn, right? You know you're heading outbound 1 minute, and turn a minute,
Yeah.
and then at the same, and then now in your inbound, now you're going
Flip it.
back to two VORs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hopping back.
Yeah, you're flipping.
So there's no better way to do that, or it's, right,
Sadly not, no.
unless you have two.
Unless if we have two HSIs, then it's easy. Then one just centers and then you just use the other one. Okay. Here's the hold trainer app. There's a couple things here, so you can use the tutorial if you want. There's this cool hold calculator. So if you're on the ground and you want to give yourself holds, you can just move this plane or you can move this HSI. And then now you can determine your entry. And you can do stuff like this and you can like mess around with all these. So I found this helpful at one point. But the meat and bones of this app lies right here. And what we can do is you can visualize it at first, which is nice. So, and then if I want to scramble it up, you just hit this a couple times.
Oh, is it just giving a random?
Yeah, it's just going to give us random holds and then we have to determine the entry. So hold south over the RDU VOR on the 198 radial, make left turns. South 198. So look, south 198 is right here. Is that our inbound or our outbound right there?
Outbound.
Yes, that's our outbound. So we're going to bug our heading. We're going to fly that outbound and then we're going to come inbound on the next thing. What entry is that? Yeah, we got a parallel there. And if you want to see it, you can go back and see it like this and hit the plan view. We'll do a couple more with this visualize thing on and then we'll turn this visualize thing off. Hold southwest over the JFK VOR on the 209 radial, make left turns. So 209, is that within this southwest quadrant here?
Yeah.
Yes. So, and they also said radial, which means radials radiate outbound. So now we do our pi method or thumb method or whatever method you want to figure out what entry is this. So what entry is this?
Teardrop?
Yeah, so it's a teardrop. What direction are we going to do Lars in? They said left turns. What's our Lars heading going to be?
Left hand.
Okay.
We put it at 239.
Yeah. Great. Hold northwest over the VHP VOR on the 307 radial. These are a lot of radials because that's like the most common one. You'll keep hearing radial over and over again. 307. Inbound or outbound?
That's outbound.
Yes. Because northwest is this big quadrant, and this is within that big quadrant. Also, they said radial, and radial's radiate outbound. And that's 307. What is that entry?
Parallel.
Yes. And now I'm gonna turn this thing off. We've graduated from that. Hold north on the 177 bearing to the Capley waypoint. So north, but then where's 177? Well, 180 is here, so 177 is there. So is that my inbound or my outbound?
That's-
Okay, so what's our outbound then?
257.
257 and 25. Wait,
No, 3-5.
not 25. 257's down here. So
357. Yeah.
yeah, we'll look over here.
3-5. Oh yeah, 3-5. So yeah.
And they said no direction of the hold, so that means it's what direction?
Right
No,
there.
right.
Right is standard. So we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna put my right side up, and we see our reciprocal is right here. So this is our heading bug right here. So what entry is that? Yeah. Hold southeast on the 304 bearing to the Capley waypoint. 304. So I'm going to put my finger and identify where 304 is, somewhere around here. But they said bearing, and that's not southeast. Southeast is over here. So we're going to use the reciprocal. So what's the reciprocal of that? Yeah. This is how I do it because I'm bad at math. When you're bad at math, you really start to come up with shit quick. If it's a little bit on the right side of this big line, that means it's gonna be a little bit on the right side of this big line. There you go.
You need that 2 minus 2.
Yeah, +2, -2. Lydia has a good way where you just add 200, add or subtract 200, and then you add or subtract 20, and that gives you your 180 reciprocal really fast. So we're somewhere over here. And then which way am I putting my pen up?
Right turn.
Right side.
Right side coming up. So what entry is this?
Right.
Yeah. And I like to visualize after I get it right. I'm like, oh, let me just visualize this really quick. So that's what it looks like. Hold northeast on the 244 bearing to the wife's intersection. Thank God we don't have to deal with the intersection. I'll show you guys some intersection stuff here in a second, actually. So northeast. Northeast is here, but look, they said 244. There's 244. And northeast is over here. So we're not dealing with our magic number. So we need to find our magic number. So 244. So what does that mean over here? Yes, we're dealing with 064 over here. So that's our outbound now. So we bugged that on our heading bug. And they did not say right or left turn. So I mean that's right. What entry is this?
It's close, but it's parallel. Right.
How do we figure it out? If we're on the edge. This isn't now we gotta pull out our calculator.
I always thought if it's on the edge, just do a parallel.
Direct comes first if it's on direct and parallel.
Yes. So yeah, always do, in my opinion, it's all recommended. I'm gonna do whatever's easiest for me. You know, direct's easier for me. So I would, in real life, I would do a direct in this scenario. How do we figure out the exact number?
You can
Subtract 70 or 110.
What subtract 110 from what?
Current heading,
Yeah,
like 183.
yeah. So let's do 183. I'm gonna do this on my calculator right now. So 183 minus 110. And that's 73. So anything 73 and higher is going to be parallel. Anything 73 and lower is going to be direct. So that puts us there. And look, if we do that, now it's easier to kind of see the fine tuning, but it's hard to eyeball it like that. Does that make sense? That's a good one. I like doing the ones right on the edge like that. No one cares in real life. No one cares. if I whipped it into a teardrop, it'd be like, all right.
Yeah, teardrop was the wrong answer.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like, what is the most efficient? So they're gonna expect you to do a direct or a parallel in that sense. They are not gonna expect you to do a teardrop. If you whip it into a teardrop because you do enough bank angle or whatever it is, like there's gonna be like, all right, cool. But you want to make their life less hell by doing like the entry that they're gonna expect you to do.
So when you say they, you mean ATC, right?
ATC,
So
yeah.
what about like on a check ride?
Check ride. So check ride, phase check. This is where I would actually even do the math for that entry right there, that last one. This is where, oh, I can go back. Oh no. That's where I would start kicking it in real time here. Like I'm gonna pretend that whole other side's unprotected. I need to be exact. If they gave me 1 degree off and that 1 degree puts me in like a parallel entry, I'm gonna do a parallel because that 1 degree says so. And I'm gonna take real life out of it because I'm in a test environment. So I'm gonna be exact in a test environment. No eyeballing, joking around for that.
Would you do parallel or teardrop first? Like it was on the border of them.
Parallel or teardrop, we do either one. I think teardrop is what comes first.
Teardrop, parallel.
The only thing that says teardrop comes first is Shepherd Air. So Shepherd Air is not the AIM or the FAA. So, but what they're doing is they're creating some kind of standardization here, like priorities in your mind. You don't want to just be like, do I whip out a teardrop or a parallel? And then like last second, just whip out like a parallel. So it's like, just create a standard to yourself. I personally, I would do a teardrop, just because it's like probably cleaner, but yeah. Let's scramble this a little bit. Hold southeast over the VHP VOR on the 143 radial. So where's 143? Well, 140 is here, 143 is here. And you said southeast, is that within the southeast quadrant? Yep, so that's our outbound. So we're gonna bug that with our heading bug. And did they say left or right turns?
Nope.
They said nothing, so that's right turns. So that's somewhat this line here. What entry is that? The big one. Yeah, we're doing a parallel here. I think you guys got this pretty well. Move on, unless if anybody has questions on that stuff. But that's the whole trainer app. If you haven't used that, it's a really good, simple tool. Oh, you know what? Let me see. Actually, let's do some stuff on the 650 really quick.
Hey, Taylor, while you're pulling that up, so one of the problems I have is I start visualizing the holds and kind of start overthinking it versus just like
Yeah.
step one, bug it and just. Is that common? Is that
Yeah.
what's the common?
Just identify the outbound, find the entry. That's instead of concentrating so much on like visualizing it and stuff like that, like that will come later. You just need to determine that entry ASAP so you can make your LARs or determine your entry like as soon as you can. So yeah, my priority is what's my outbound, what's my entry. That helps keep you like sane. Okay, so this is kind of hard to show stuff on here, but here's our default nav, right? So this is how we change our CDI, we know that. And then this is where we do our OBS mode. So let me go here. And if we go to flight plan and get rid of that. So we'll do like we're leaving Torrance and then we've got like Fermi here and stuff like that. So if I want to OBS on Fermi here, I can hit home, default nav, and I see Fermi right here is highlighted. So that means when I hit OBS, we're going to OBS off of Fermi. So I'm going to tap OBS, and in this case, it comes up with this screen. Let's just say it's the 1, 2, 3 off of Fermi. Now I'm OBS'd off of Fermi.
CDI switch between two EORs. Or you can do that.
No.
No, so we'd have, so if we wanted to do an intersection, using like green needles, we'd have to switch the nav every time.
Exactly, yeah, nav and course every single time. So this is why it's good to just do OBS there. So I'm gonna do an intersection hold here. So this is what an intersection on hold would look like. So I'm gonna do 115.7. Oops. Oh, this is calmed. So we see Seal Beach here. Let's put it into our active. So just so everybody knows, that bottom, I'm sure Neil has said it already, but that bottom Seal Beach is just the database's thought of what frequency that is. We have not identified anything until we see Seal Beach up here. So that is us, and that's legal, by the way. That's a legal way to identify if a VOR is in service or not. And that's because Garmin's system actually listens to the Morse code in the background and then determines it. Have you ever had it where that Seal Beach takes forever to get on there? Maybe you haven't noticed that, but sometimes it'll take forever to go on there is because it's listening to the Morse code and it's got to listen for the whole nother loop around because you just tuned in at a weird time. It's not this ID button. It will tell me I legally identified the VOR when I hit this ID and then I push this right here and I go, what are you going to do now? Now you didn't identify. What this ID is this allows you to listen to the Morse code. So if I were to just go on the COM tab and like enable the audio right now for this VOR, I would not hear any Morse code. And that's because I need to push this and make sure it says ID up there. So now I'm going to hear the Morse code. Anybody know why that exists?
To mute.
Yeah, we're going to mute it. Yeah, why would I want to mute? Why would I want the AI in this Garmin system to mute the Morse code to not hear it?
So you can talk to flight service.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to talk to a flight service and I don't want to hear that Morse code shit.
How do you mute it there?
How do I mute it?
Yeah,
You just tap this right here. So you would have to go in the audio tab on the G3X and we'd enable the nav on there. And now you hear all the beeping and stuff like that. And if I just wanted to shut that up, I could just tap the button there and do that. And now it's gone. Now I can hear flight service talking and all that without the Morse code going off. So that's our legal way of identifying it.
During the check ride, we should still do it like audio, nav, and then listen to the Morse code.
Your call. I would just say, like on my check ride, I just said, I've legally identified the Seal Beach VR. Do you want to hear the audio way? And the guy's like, hell no. And then we just moved on. Sometimes they'll want to hear it and be like, yeah, show me how you'd get to it. Because if you didn't see that up, I want you to show me how you'd get to it just to ensure that it's working. And like, yeah, you could, in some scenarios, you would have to go on there. When I do face checks, I like to do it because it's like, just have them go through and do it to remember that. Okay, so we're gonna do a hold here. So I put in Seal Beach VOR, and let's say we tuned in the what is it? 123 radial. Or no, that's LAX. I'm gonna make a hold here and then we'll kind of do it in the G3X. I mean, that's 650 over there. Okay, so I'm gonna make us an intersection here. So here's LAX. And they told me hold on the intersection of the LAX 123 radial. So here's 180, here's 090. So this looks like maybe 123. So hold on the 123 radial and the Seal Beach 020 radial. If 270's here, I'm looking for 202 radial, somewhere around here, right? Because 200 is maybe there. So let's go like this. Oh, shit. Let's go somewhere like that. We've identified our hold fix, right? So here's our fix. I don't have anything to help me with that. other than this intersection. So here's our fix here. Now they're going to give us a hold. So let's say they tell us hold on the LAX, hold on the intersection using the LAX 1, 2, 3 radial, make left turns. So I'm going to use this and make left turns. So what did they just give me though? So 1, 2, 3 radial. So that's my outbound. So if I hit the fix, I'm going to fly outbound 1, 2, 3, which means my inbound is going to be the reciprocal of this. So that would be something like this, right? Because I'm going to go inbound that way, and I said left turns. Got it? So we're going this way. You can cheat, but you shouldn't know this, but you can cheat. And once you've identified this fix one time, you can look at your DME and how you've just made a DME hold. So if you're using GPS as your other thing, everything has a radial and a DME. So now you can just identify that this is like 12 DME or something like that. You can kind of cheat there, but they're not going to want you to do that. And that would also, usually that would cause you to stir up your GPS now. And like now you have to kick one off or whatever. So here's our intersection. What do we do? So I'm over here and they told me all this stuff. I've determined and drew this out. Let's just say, how do I fly this thing? They told me hold on this radial, the LAX 1, 2, 3 radial on this intersection. Am I going to go here? Fly that in? Am I going to go here? What do I do? Am I just going to, how do I even go direct? Can I just go direct this thing or what?
It's a waypoint.
Right. So we're not dealing with a waypoint though. We're dealing with this imaginary intersection. So what do I do?
Probably intercept the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the most optimal thing to do. Yes, you could go here, but remember in the hold instructions, this whole deal right here is just kind of used to identify this fix. Everything actually revolves around this right here. So it would probably be my best interest to go intercept this and fly it like that.
Can you go direct if you program it in the 650?
Yeah, but that's a little bit tough to do.
Okay.
Because I'll show you why. So it's super easy to program a fix in there.
I think waypoint.
You can just make a custom
Make
waypoint.
a waypoint off two, like 2 radials.
But the thing is your GPS is the only radial that shows in here. So see this Fermi thing that I used OBS mode? I would not see where my nav line is. So my GPS line is right here, but my nav line doesn't exist. So I'm like, well, where the hell is the actual fix then? So then I can't just tap here and hit create waypoint. Does that make sense? That's why this is a little bit annoying.
Wait, why?
Because it only shows the line on my GPS. So see this big line right here? That's only my GPS. Where's my nav one? Right? My nav one coming off of Seal Beach is somewhere over here, but I can't tell because it doesn't show up because it's nav radio, it's not GPS.
Can you just put in like, say, okay, so you said we're holding on the 1, 2, 3. What direction was south, southeast, or whatever?
Yeah.
Couldn't you just put in the 1, 2, 3 radio into the waypoint? Yeah, like make it OBS mode and then use that, and like use it as a DOR almost.
Yeah. So like, well, that's what we're doing. So our steps to this are, I've got this hold now. So now I need to do 2 things. One is I need to get Seal Beach in here, and I need to type in 202 radial, right? So we got that in. But now what do I do here? Well, now I need to put in the LAX because it doesn't matter which one you do, green or purple. You just got to get them both in there. So I'm going to remove this and I'm just going to add LAX. And now look, it's not highlighted. So now I need to get this on here. I can activate it. I can go direct. It doesn't matter. Whatever I need to do to get that thing highlighted. And now I can hit OBS here. And I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3. So what you're saying though is hard to do because there's my 1, 2, 3 radial right here, this white line. but I don't know where my Seal Beach is. Seal Beach is right over here, but there's no line telling me.
Well, if you click create waypoint, and then. Or
Oh shit, my bad.
back.
Why is it doing
Create
this?
waypoint.
There we go.
And then
Yeah, you could do this.
position.
So just like make that the name. And then we can do Seal Beach. You could do this.
Yeah, or SLI, or when you click position, should let you do it.
Oh wait, let me go back.
Yeah, position. And then radial on radial, like the
This one?
top left, yeah. You could click the SLI 202 and the LA.
Yeah, this is sick.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know this. So you do 202.
You didn't let me do it on my face check, but
Right. If I saw this, I'd be like,
Yeah.
good job for knowing this.
Yeah.
Can't use it.
What would it look like on
I'll show you. So we'll do this, and that looks good. And then we can go here, and we can hit create this waypoint, and it should just put the waypoint somewhere down here.
what was the name of it? Triple R.
Yeah, see it? There it is, right here.
okay, so that's the.
And then you need to go to like you have to load it into your flight plan and click hold on it.
Yeah. So now we would go here. That's our new fix, and we just proceed direct it and just do our entry. And it's like super, super easy. But the thing is you can't do that on a check rider face check, but you bet I'm doing that on the in real life. I'm just busting that out. I'm not doing an intersection hold like
I'm gonna try to do it on the check ride and see what they say.
you may be able to. Sometimes examiners on a check ride are just like, I just want to see what you're gonna do in the real world. Like this check ride with 3 local approaches is already crazy. Like I just want to see what you're gonna do in the real world. So it's definitely possible, but a lot of the times they're gonna say, I want you to do an intersection hold, and I mean for you to do like an intersection hold.
You can really like load the whole thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna do next too, is we can actually load the holds. So
Oh, yeah, could you show me?
could try.
check ride,
Do it.
check ride. I do my holds all on autopilot in the check ride. So okay, so let's just say we identified. Here's our LAX 123 and our Seal Beach 202. Let's say I'm on autopilot and I want to hold on autopilot. So I'm going to tap this fix and I'm going to do hold at waypoint. And remember, I said 1, 2, 3 radial, and I said make left turns. And I didn't say anything else. So this, we can just leave 1 minute. This doesn't matter.
What are the course feelings?
Oh, yes, because that's my, yeah, so that's my course. So 1, 2, 3, that would be, what is that?
You can switch it to inbound, outbound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, God, you don't even have to do anything on this thing. Shit, I haven't used this for a little bit. Forgot, you don't even have to know math or anything. You just punch this thing in,
Yeah,
and then we load it,
and press autopilot and this.
and we would turn on autopilot, and it open.
yeah.
So it comes up here, and it will flash at this bottom right side here. It will flash. It'll say holding direct or holding teardrop
So
or
on the
whatever.
do autopilot and then
Nav mode.
nav.
So yeah, autopilot, we would turn on altitude first because we want to
Yeah.
hold our altitude. And then we want to use nav mode, not heading. We just use nav mode and we just activate autopilot and then we just like hands off and it just does
That's
the,
the entry.
oh, it does the entry, it times it and everything. So yeah, like,
Does it do the wind correction for you guys?
oh yeah, it does everything. So look, it determined that that looks like it's doing a teardrop entry. Yeah. So let me see if I can do this. I think I can get it to fly. So you can set your GPS like there. I wonder if I can get it to fly this thing. Track my flight plan, because it'll start flashing at you and stuff too. Let's increase our speed a little bit here. I wonder if it's actually going to hit, because it will start to hit the fix and it'll actually like show what's going on. I think it's yeah, look, so it's going on autopilot right now and it's gonna flash at us when it does its stuff. Yeah, this is, you can actually like fly it in this thing. I just hit down here at the bottom here, this track mode thing. You can hit whatever you want it to track. So you can make it do heading. A lot of the times by default, the speed's on 0. So I just tap the speed up. You can tap the altitude up. So look, hold teardrop.
Okay, it says that.
It already knows what it's doing, and I'll show you this too. So when we'll just watch this for fun so we can actually like see what it's doing. So it knows it's gonna turn and make this right turn here. So it's gonna hit the fix. And I put it in a weird spot, so it's a little off. So it's actually just doing everything for me to make this hold correct. So there we go. It's flying outbound. And I'll show you this too. If I go back while this is flying it, look, it's timing my hold right there. So I don't even need to start the timer. Yeah. So that's what I always tell people on their final phase check when you get, or like before your final phase check for prep, load it in the GPS, fly it on autopilot, do your timer manually. But if you forget your timer, look, this thing's got your back right here. So it's
Does
almost
that do 1 minute or 1 minute and a half?
it makes your inbound whatever I said. So that hold, if I go to this hold, I could tap the hold and I can hit edit hold. I see I made my legs 1 minute. So it will when correct my outbound in order to make my inbound 1 minute.
And then you can do you can fly your your face check rides on autopilot.
Final phase check, you can usually fly a majority of it on autopilot, yeah. I want to see like when I do a final phase check for someone, I want to see what they're gonna do in like the real world where you have a fully working plane, and then I'll give them a scenario where it's out. And like let's say they do an approach on autopilot, I'm gonna be like, let's turn off your autopilot right now and have them do like a nasty intercept or something. But usually for the hold, I just let them do the hold on autopilot, get set up for the next thing, because that's what it is in like real life, you know. But yeah, look at this thing, it's just putting along. Let's make it fast as shit. Just go like two. Oh, I guess it's gonna make the hold bigger though. But yeah, this thing will just go and it'll do its thing. And you can actually use this to get good at.
Yeah, but that will be above the minimum. This is your 200 feet and your indicate is 280.
Not yet, alright.
Yeah, I'm busting some. I'm gonna get a deviation right now. Going 280 at 2,000 feet. If I hold the home button right here, so I'm gonna hold that down, not tap. If I hold that down, it goes to that default nav page. So that's a quick shortcut there. If I hold this push button down, by the way, don't hold it for too long because it sets you up for an emergency.
Oh,
So
yeah.
watch if I hold this one down, did you see that? It just put in 1215. So look here, when I hold it down, watch what it says. I hold it down, hold for 12195 and 7700. So look, it just squawked 7700 for me and it put the guard in the frequency. So yeah, when you tap it to like squelch or when you tap it to ID it, just don't hold it for too long. But yeah, great capable thing we got here.
When you hold the direct, it does smart glide.
Yes.
Oh, wait, what?
So when you're on autopilot and you hold direct, it's gonna put you in an emergency. Does it show it on this?
Yeah, sure. You gotta.
I wonder if mine's not doing it right. But when you're on autopilot and you hold the direct button, it will actually smart glide you to the nearest airport, like hands off. Like it will turn the plane and fly it for you. If you just hold the direct and you're not on autopilot, it will get your CDI to show you the nearest airport with the nearest distance and all that stuff.
Shows you your glider range too.
Yeah, and it shows your glide range. So what is that? Were you on this map when you hit it?
No, I was just on.
Yeah, usually if you hold direct down, it usually pops it up for you wherever you are.
Squawk 77.
Yeah, mine's not doing that for some reason.
Maybe you go smart glide disabled.
Yeah, mine might be disabled in there.
Oh wait, yeah, no, mine's not. Oh wait, no.
Now it hates us for just trying to do something. Anyways, oh wow, the time's already up for today. That's it. I gotta take attendance on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, not everyone's on the list? Oh. Someone wanna pass the paper around? Is this printer having? Yeah, I just wanna pass that around. I'll put the date on it, just sign your names down there. I'm gonna put the Zoom people as. We got Paul in there.